But we had to end this on a positive note. We had to end this the right way. And so without further ado, let us say hello one more time to my old friend Chael P. There he is.
Look who's back.
Yes.
How are you, Helwani?
I am doing tremendous, Chael. And as I said to you privately, that was sincere. There was only one person I had earmarked as hopefully the last guest of the year. I was worried that you would say no. I am delighted that you said yes.
I actually tried to never say no, and I think I was on a good streak for years. Yeah. I don't think I ever missed. Then we had our blow up, but I didn't say no because of that. I mean, I really did. It was just one thing after the next. I think I'm at a travel day one time, and even this Monday, Brittany and I ended up staying in Las Vegas. I got some young ears over here, but we had to get a little shopping done. We had a great time. Ariel, I come home, though. It's like I've lost my voice.
Okay, I'm worried
I didn't feel like I was screaming that much. You know, I felt like I was being a fan, but I feel like I've got a laryngitis. I feel wonderful. I don't want you to hear me and then think I'm sick. I actually feel wonderful. I just kind of am losing my voice.
Okay, so the first question I was going to ask you was, do you have water? Because, of course, we all remember the hang-up heard around the world, but we found out afterwards it was really due to the fact that you were losing your voice. Now here we are a minute in, and you've already lost your voice. So I'm worried. Do you have any lubrication? Do you have any water? Do you have any sort of moisture to, at least battle that?
I do not.
Okay.
But I must also tell you, that's never worked for me. Like I've never drank something that my throat feels bad. I know people say that. Like every time we do TV, somebody will bring you something to drink. I've never opened. I don't know anything about that. So I will be fine. Hey, Ariel, I got to get into something. The last guest you had on.
Yes.
Was that Leon's coach?
Yes, head coach.
Okay. Tell me if you got any insight on this. I wanted to hear the interview, but I ran a little bit late. I only saw basically you tell him thank you and goodbye. Leon made a comment at the post-fight press conference, and I was really taken back. It surprised me. And all that he said, as it pertained to Belal Muhammad, is Leon said, I don't think he should be next. I don't think he should be able to cut the line. And that's where he lost me. I understand if you don't want a guy to be next. It was the cut the line. Who in Leon's mind, I don't know if this came up or not, but who within Leon's mind would be in front of Belal?
There is no one. And I actually said on Monday that I've loved everything that Leon did. Obviously, the performance was the performance, and he was emotional, all that stuff. The one thing that I wish he didn't say was that. Why? Because he's the guy, as we battle. Remember 2019, 2020, Ariel and the bad guy? We used to argue about Leon, and I was saying he deserves it, he deserves it. He has had people cut the line in front of him. So I would love to see a world where he kind of rights the ship in terms of the craziness at welterweight and gives the opportunities to the guys like Belal. So I asked his coach, he dropped a little nugget. And this is why I love talking to the coaches, right? Because like they're not bound to the same like rules as everyone else. They're not afraid. You think Dave Lavelle is afraid of, what he says or doesn't say? He said that there was a call in about Leon's participation at UFC 300. Okay, which I think is interesting. April 13th, he said no opponent yet. And I asked, like, who would be your choice? We're trying to, and he said, look, it's either Belal or Shavkat, but Shavkat's banged up. So it's probably Belal, and we're okay with that. We saw it already. It ended unceremoniously, but I'm okay with it. So that's pretty much all that he gave me in terms of what could be next. But I agree with you 100%. Belal's unbeaten in 10 fights, and he's beaten a who's who. There is no one else.
Yeah. No. There definitely is not. But there is a but, which is it would seem as though both Belal and Shavkat could go and fight for a championship. And we've seen a new precedent lately, Ariel. We've seen number one contenders, and then we've seen two of them at a time. And I didn't love that. Like, if there's one thing about 2023 that I hope we don't continue down a road, it's the road of that. I don't like two guys lined up at once, and then you got guys waiting. But I'll share this with you. From a business standpoint, if we do agree that both of those guys are going to get a shot, if they're both available, okay, it's not a matter of telling Leon your next fight isn't for a title. It's just a matter, or I apologize, of telling Belal that. It would be a matter of telling Belal your next fight's going to be for a title, but the next title fight isn't going to involve you. And hear me out on this real fast. I don't like this. I'm 100% Belal. I'm trying to understand it because I thought that a deal was made between Belal, the promotion, and Gilbert Burns. So therefore, it is Belal's. His word was given and a deal was made. That's what I thought. But that wasn't confirmed at the post-fight press conference. In fact, it looked like it was a little bit up in the air. Now, just hear me out. If you're an organization and you have got to put both of those fights on, imagine a press conference between Leon and Rachmanov. It wouldn't happen. They would cancel it. There wouldn't be any big promotion. So let's say you knew you had to do it and you could slip it into 300 because it's not a main event. You slip it into 300, you let the other things build it to get rid of that one. I would see where that could make a level of sense. I think with Rachmanov hurt, that's not where we're going. But I do suggest for you, there is something that we're missing. At the mere fact that Blal was there, he weighed in, he was the backup fighter, got a post-fight press conference, and it wasn't announced.
Well, my wheels are turning because Dana has said the card is going to be out of this world, right? That every fight is going to be better than the next. And I don't know if, Leon versus Belal is a great fight. It's the two best guys at 170 right now. But I don't know if that's like an out of this world fight. And so I wonder, is there a rabbit out of their hat that they can pull here with Leon? I don't know what that rabbit is. Like the first name that came to mind was GSP. It's not going to be GSP, obviously. And there's no other legend that he can fight at 170. I don't know if that's like a mind-blowing fight. It's just a great fight, but it's not a mind-blowing fight, right? I mean, it's just a fight.
Well, sure. And I heard Dana say that too. I didn't interpret it like they were all going to be like that. I thought he just meant, look, I'm going to have a star involved in everyone, including the first one of the night. If you put a title fight on, a title fight is a mind-blowing. That would meet the criteria.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, Ariel, look, if you've got to do that fight, and imagine that's supposed to headline the bill, you're put in a very tough spot. You truly are. So if there's a way that you could slip it in, get it done, have one of them and have one of them gone, and not feel a reduction because you're packing that stage and you're packing that house anyway. 300 is not a bad place to put that fight. Yes. I'm not for it. I'm only for Blahal. I mean, I would like to make that clear, but I could see it. There's some reason. And how do you tell a guy that's won 17 fights, 17 fights, all by finish, by the way? That should be on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Right. I don't know how that's being missed. LeBron has not won 17 games straight. Tiger Woods has not won 17 tournaments straight. This is an amazing feat, partner.
And I think it's actually 18 now. And obviously all of them finished, like you said, all of them in the UFC. I think 6-0 in the UFC. It's pretty remarkable. So much I want to ask you about. Obviously, we know you're close with Colby. Can I ask what you made of his performance in the fight? What did you think of what he did on Saturday?
Well, I was very proud of him from a character standpoint, right? I mean, competition and adversity doesn't create character like people say, but it will reveal it. And there was never a time that he quit. He knew what the math was. He knew that there's nothing good that's going to happen by staying out here. That was for over 10 minutes. But he stayed in there and he kept trying to win. He kept changing positions. He never let up. I mean, I'll just share with that. But from the first minute in, I could tell there was something that he felt or saw that he didn't like. And I don't know what that was. That could be something as small, like the audience would never pick up on. It could be something as small as range, where Leon is just a quarter inch out of the way, this much out of the way, and Colby just needs that or he's going to miss. But he was seeing and feeling something that I wasn't observing as a viewer, that he didn't like. There was something where he wasn't comfortable. The only thing he's ever said after this fight, I'm hearing all sorts of things about the ankle, about the knee. He hasn't confirmed those even in private. The only thing that he has said is what he did say publicly, which is ring rust was real. And maybe. I felt like I was seeing something different, though. I did not think he looked old and slow, but I did think he was, whatever it was he needs to see before he changes elevation and comes in, or before he goes to attack, whatever he's looking for, he wasn't finding, and he didn't find it from the beginning to the end.
Are we not giving Leon, I know it wasn't the most exciting fight of the year, but are we not giving him enough credit for his takedown defense, for keeping Colby at bay, the kicks that kept, I mean, like, it was a pretty good performance out of the champ, no?
Absolutely. It's one of the best performances that he's had. I mean, he was out there. He was dominant. Leon was very respectful. He said before the fight that one thing that he is concerned with, one thing where he thinks Colby has a real threat, was in the cardio. And Leon came in and he was in great shape, but he understood that. He understood that he can't just put his foot down on the gas. And it's important that you understand that. Like, if you go for the finish, you're not going to win a decision. So you've got to be very smart and very tactical. And you'll always hear about athletes that are confident or he didn't have the confidence. All that means is a belief in your conditioning. There's nothing else where a fighter has confidence. It's not with his power. It's not with his record. It's not with his coaches, his trainer, even who his opponent is. The confidence comes from one thing. If a worst case scenario comes, which I'm still here and he's still here at the 25-minute mark, can I hold up and protect myself at all times? Or am I going to be so fatigued I can't finish the match? That is the only thing that brings a fear, a confidence, a resiliency to a fighter. So Leon told us ahead of time that he was worried about that. He told us ahead of time, I've got to be strategic. I got to do enough to win a round and save as much as I can to win the future rounds. It was a very smart fight by him. I don't agree with the criticism at all. And even if Colby was having a hard time getting some of that extremely in-your-face offense going, Leon didn't know that. Leon doesn't know if hey, is this guy holding back? Does this guy got more left? If so, I've got to hold a little bit back. He did a great job. Leon did a great job.
How's the throat?
Throat feels all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to check.
Good enough for the girls I go out with, I'll tell you that much.
Okay. Did Colby cross the line on Thursday with his comment?
You know what that means?
No, I didn't.
You know what that expression means?
No, I don't know. Singing?
Good enough for the girls I go out. I haven't the foggiest idea. My father used to say it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know what it meant when he said it, and now I say it. My kids don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but it's kind of clever. It's kind of catchy.
Cute. It's
Makes
charming. Yeah, no, I like it.
Charming.
I figured it's like, oh yeah, the girls like it, so it should be okay for you. Did Colby cross the line on Thursday?
Of course. Yeah, very much. Yeah, with the dad comment, of course he did.
And so should there be a line? Like, should there be? I was asked this question at the beginning of today's show. If you were the president of the UFC, what would you do in these situations? And what I said was, I'll say to you is like, hey, I would pull someone aside. I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we used to do that. We used to see this back in the day with Miguel Torres and his tweet, and he got fired off a tweet. And we've seen Dana give the speech on Tough. Hey, man, that was just a step too far. You need to reel it back in. Say what you want, insult him, but we can't go there. And I think Colby, and I think every fighter on the roster would abide by that. I think they respect Dana so much and the company so much that they would say like, all right, cool, I got it. Can't they do that as opposed to just putting up their hands and saying like, hey, man, it's cage fighting and in 24 hours they're going to get locked in there?
Well, I think what you said people would agree with as far as theory. And like if we were virtue signaling to say, hey, I'm better at this, but in practice, no, I don't think so. And the Miguel Torres, I fully get your example. Frank Mir had made a comment as well.
Yes, lost his job.
Frank was a great announcer. Yeah, he said, I literally wanted to be the first ever death in MMA. I mean, you saw what he was going for. And Frank could have done that to you right now. He could have done it in a press conference. He can't do it in a suit holding the microphone representing the network. And that was the same thing that got Miguel into trouble. No. If Dana was to pull guys aside and say you went too far, well, yeah, I'm not going to go that far again. The checks and balances are real simple, which is the audience. If the audience doesn't like it, I mean, because make sure you understand, even if you wrote this down, what you can and can't do, which for a large part is done, Dana tells you don't go out there and curse. And it's to the point, even on the live broadcast, if you curse in your post-fight speech, you're not getting a bonus. So if you win a fight of the night, I'm taking it from you. Do not curse. But that's as far as you can go. And the reason I bring that four-letter words up expressly, Ariel, is Colby didn't do that. So Colby would have gotten around that had you had it written in. Now, what he said was very mean. It was designed to be mean. But then the payment is the audience. So when you say you think that Colby will respect it, I hear you on that. But I think that other fighters have observed this and seen this, and that's where you start to see where that line is. The line moves all the time, man. There was a guy that used to sing back in the 70s. It was my mother's favorite. His name was Elvis Presley.
Yes.
And all the parents, the mothers and the fathers would stop the high school girls from watching Elvis or going to his concerts because at some point in that 3-hour performance, he would shift his hips. And not in a sexual manner, but he would just shift his hips. But that was the most forbidden. You remember a guy they tried to ban from wrestling called Stone Cold Steve Austin because he said the word ass on a pay-per-view. And so I'm sharing with you what is over the line and where the line is constantly gets moving. Some of it's even within your delivery, but it's not like Colby's going to come out and say, no, that was a great thing to do. I'd love to go back and do it 10 more times. Like, you test things, you learn, and you move on. There should not be a rule. I guess that's what I'm saying. Okay. I hate that idea. Do not let us fall into that. Man, this world is a weak place. Words just simply can't hurt you. They just can't.
Did you ever have a line? Did you ever have a place that you wouldn't go?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I had my own. I mean, I've never cursed, just by example.
Yeah.
Ever.
Except
not just
movie.
a press guy.
I saw
never
you in
used
the movie, Mojave Diamonds. Or
yeah. Does that count, by the way, when I say I did that? Like I was playing a character and reading words.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting thing, right? So, yeah, it's just one of those. It's one of those interesting spots. I do not want there to be any language, but I don't like that. I don't like the idea of it. Now, that isn't to say there's not going to be repercussions if you go out and use certain language, but that in and of itself, so society, cultural norms at the time, in and of itself, is the checks and balances. I like that. It's very rare. We don't have a lot of it, but it's one thing that people do like about the UFC.
But if your opponent said something similar about a family member of yours, you've talked openly about your father and you've gotten emotional, like you wouldn't feel like that was a bridge too far? You would just say like, hey, it's the fight game?
No. Oh, no. I would think he went too far. I'm just saying that I don't believe he should have a repercussion for that.
Okay.
Beyond the crowd. Right. I mean, he's doing it for the crowd. He's trying to win over the crowd. He's trying to get an emotional reaction for the crowd. There's a difference in having attitude or saying something wrong. So, but that is the checks and balances. No, I wouldn't want that written down. I wouldn't want a commission. I wouldn't want a little board that you had to answer to. We had to deal with that in MMA, man. The weirdest dude I've ever met in my time in the sport, and that's a lot. There was a guy named Kaiser.
Yes.
I can't remember his first name, but Kaiser out of Nevada.
Keith.
And he tried to do some of that. He was such a creep, this guy. He used to do that. And it's like, yeah, I won't even get started on this weirdo, but he tried to do that. He thought he was going to come in and regulate, and that this was going to be a G-rated cage fight. And it was just a weird thing, man.
Keith Kaiser.
Yeah, I think that's right. Keith Kaiser.
Yeah.
Strangest dude I've ever met in this sport.
Okay, so then can I ask you about this one? Because I love your takes on this stuff. DDP and Strickland fighting in the crowd.
Keith Kaiser.
Yes.
Keith Kaiser wanted to not license Michael Bisping because Michael Bisping spit on a corner man in Germany.
Australia.
Oh, really, Keith? And how do you know that? Because I watched him do it. Did you, Keith? Because I watched the same broadcast. You saw Michael Bisping spit. It did not show where the spit went. You're a lawyer. So, like, if some regular guy wanted to say, well, he spit on him, I connected the dots, and I read the Underground Forum later, that's very different than a lawyer passing judgment, claiming that he saw something that he didn't see. This dude was a weird guy.
Yes, that was quite the time in MMA. Can I ask you about DDP and Strickland then? Fighting in the crowd, and there's women and children, like quite literally in between them. Should there be any repercussions for that?
Probably. I mean, probably to a degree. It's not as though there weren't repercussions. Strickland got thrown out. I mean, that's how security handles these things. There always becomes a question, Ariel, of what level of authority needs to do it. And there seems to be this idea that it needs to be the sport or the governing body. That gets a little bit strange for me. They don't want to go into policing. It just gets a little bit strange for me. If you have security or you have the police, I mean, the police had the right to arrest them if they wanted to. You had security that stepped in. The way they chose to handle it was to remove one from the facility and tell him he'd be trespassing if he came back. It's not as though that wasn't dealt with. But no, I don't like that stuff. I'm not a prude about it, but that isn't fight promotion. That's fighting, and that isn't sanctioned fighting. That's illegal fighting. So I'm not a prude, but I don't like when the punches get thrown. Man, you got to be able to have these things. You got to be able to have these back and forths, and you got to have a level of honor. And no, I didn't like that.
In other words, you can't let them get close.
You can't let them get close.
No.
Yeah. I mean, they shouldn't have been seated like that. Like for a video, it was very interesting. And by the way, one thing that we did get from DDP over the weekend, I felt like you wanted to go more into that Kaiser guy. Like you were getting a little, like you liked what I was doing. It was almost like you were going to add in with the story and you changed your mind.
No.
Did I take the floor from you, or did you kick it out?
Not at all. There's so much to talk to you about regarding 296 that I don't want to get sidetracked.
Sure.
But you brought me to you and I in that hotel room, the black and white video. Like you brought me into a different time in MMA when you mentioned Keith Kaiser, because I don't think there's no reason to think about Keith Kaiser in 2023 anymore. And so I was, what I was truly thinking? I was wondering how many people watching this right now even know who Keith Kaiser is, because there's so many new fans to the sport. I would venture to say more than 50% have never even heard that name before.
Well, I'm not positive on the Keith part. So, I mean, I got to tell, I'm playing along because you said Keith. His name was for sure Kaiser.
No, it is Keith Kaiser, Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Golly. This was a weird, oh my God. Oh, he had done something so terrible to me. He had committed perjury in front of his own commission. In front of his own commission, he committed perjury. And this was the strangest thing, but I knew if I ever make it, I'm coming after that guy. If I ever make it, I'm going to get retribution The day came, I did. I have never used it, Ariel, because it would not be equitable. He tried to ruin me. He tried to end my career. He tried to end my livelihood. When I finally got an investigator to look into him, I never used it because as bad as what I just said, it would not have been equitable. This is what a weirdo this guy was.
Wow.
I mean, I tell you, it's the weirdest guy I've ever met in this industry. Boom. Whatever his name is, Kaiser, yes.
And which era was this? Was this the Vanderlei fight?
Vanderlei time. I want to say Bob was in there for that. Bob Bennett, I think, was in there.
So which fight was it?
I wasn't looking to like dig something up if Keith has passed away or something like that. I wasn't looking to. We were going down some road. I stumbled onto that going down some road, and perhaps it was because you were asking if something should be done. If you want to have this big brother approach to it, it's like, man, there is so many oversights. You got the government; they could have stepped in. I mean, they could step in and call a hearing. They've done that before. It was Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. But if you're at an event, they do have authority over that. And then you've got security, then you got the local police, and then maybe you will piss the promotion off. I mean, I'm just sharing with you, like there is built in, right? It's not as though then you got to get through all of these hurdles. And then this happened in college sports. There was a guy that got, he was drinking. He was drinking and driving. He was a college athlete. So it goes through all the channels, and then so many people are looking at the head coach to come in and punish this guy. So, well, hold on a second. They took his car. They took his license. They humiliated him. He can't get the car back. He's going to be taking a bus until he's 25. They took his license away. Getting insurance is very difficult. His parents, everybody's upset with him. Don't act like he wasn't punished. Then you want the coach to come in, and what is the coach going to do? He's going to ban him from practice, or he's going to make him run extra stairs. Like, it just got a little bit weird where there's this whole pound of flesh and somebody's got to oversee it. It's like somebody did. That person decided not to arrest, but to remove Sean Strickland. It's not like nothing happened. It gets a little bit strange.
But it could get worse, right? If like I called it the bastardization of the McGregor effect, meaning a lot of fighters looked at what Conor did, and he had a certain way of capturing people's attention. He had a charm. He had the gift of gab, all these things. And there's a lot of guys who come up now who don't have that and who say like, hey, there's no repercussions. I could say what I want. I can act the way I want. He threw a dolly. Nothing happened. I could punch this guy. Nothing will happen. And this could get worse and worse. Someone could get stabbed in the crowd. Like, where's the end game here? And I just wish that there was a little bit of resistance because Sean was told to go to the back and chill out. I don't even know. He decided to leave the arena. He wasn't kicked out. And again, I'm not sitting here saying I like Sean. Like I don't want anyone to get in trouble. I thought what DDP said crossed the line about his dad as well. So there has to be repercussions for that too. Don't forget about what he said on Friday, 24 hours prior. It's just like a snowball effect. And I feel like it's getting to a place that's, I don't know, a little bit weird.
No, I hear you on that. There are some limitations, and yeah, for sure, DDP, cross line. But again, when you said there should be repercussions for that, is it? Well, there is. The crowd doesn't get behind it. You go too far, you could get invited to press conferences. If you can't go to a press conference, you can't get a main event. Like there's certain things that are built in. The rules do change a little bit if the contract is signed. Like, let me give you a great example. There was nothing from a promotional standpoint that has ever fallen into Dana's lap like the night of 3-piece and a soda. Mm-hmm. And Dana would have loved to have made Masvidal versus Leon, but the entire reason that he never even considered it is if you make it and you use that as the promotion, or even you use that as the genesis to make it, now you have everybody that wants to fight just as their buddy filming as they go out and they commit an assault. So it is one of those spots. And Dana's even had been asked this before, what are you going to do? And Dana goes, what am I going to do? He attacked him. He was a jerk. I'm going to make him fight him. That's what I'm going to do. What else do you want me to do? And that makes a massive level of sense. So it's one of those things. I don't know where it wants it to go. I mean, the general rule is you pass it to whatever the highest available authority is. If that's security and an usher, then that's security and an usher. If that's the local police, but once they make their decision, it's done. You don't bring somebody in over the top of that and they're going to go relook at it and analyze it. Now you go, well, whose morals and whose principles are we going off of? It's a very strange thing, partner. Yes. I really don't think that you want that.
Okay. All right. It's a fascinating discussion. I've never asked you about Sean.
It is fascinating. I agree with you, but I don't really think that you want that. I mean, what if we lost the fight over it, just by example? What if we lost John Jones in DC because they ended up on the ground? I think that you would understand where Dana is being very relevant by going, yeah, I'm going to have them compete.
Right.
You know, this happened on The Ultimate Fighter. It was with Junie Browning.
Right.
And the boys wanted him sent home. And Dana's going, hey, the guy's good for TV. I admit that, but he sucks at fighting. Keep him around and go beat him up and get him out of here. Dana was right. People didn't want him to be right because that like served the business. He was right. It was the right way to handle it.
I don't know if I've ever asked you about Sean, but like this time last year, Chael, he was coming off a loss to Jared Cannonier. No one in a million years would have thought, A, he'd be champion a year later, or B, he'd be this popular. Why do you think he is connecting with people the way in which he is?
When people used to skip school at Westland High School back in my day in the early 90s, when they would skip school and they got caught, they would skip class, they would get caught. Guess what they did? They'd suspend them. They would suspend them for a day. You go, the punishment just became the crime, right? They didn't come to class because they don't want to go to class. And now you're saying that they're not allowed to come to class. It's one of these really strange things. I mean, I just suggest that for you, that it is very relevant where a guy starts misbehaving so he gets thrown off The Ultimate Fighter, which is what Junie tried to do. He didn't want to go fight those guys. Dana spotted that and said, no, I'm going to keep him here to put him in. I mean, I'm just sharing for you, like there is a checks and a balances. It's not as though there's not. There is.
Okay, fair enough. I get it. I get what you're trying to say. Again, it's a hotly debated topic. But what about Sean?
For sure.
What do you make of Sean and the connection that he has with the audience? It's unbelievable.
And Ariel, you will see this. Like some guys will go and give the bird, and that's supposed to be promotional. We're all just supposed to forgive it. Fine. Go give the bird when Mike Mazzulli is in charge. It will cost you $5,000 per finger that you put up. So, I mean, there are things in place that many of us don't know about. Many guys have lost sponsorships over certain things that they have said. It's not like there's not a checks and a balance. I do want to move on from that. What was the question?
Sean Strickland, the connection that he has with people is amazing. People, he really speaks to people. Like he's like, I've referred to him as the voice of the voiceless. People who have had troubled childhoods really seem to connect with him because he speaks to their soul. He's very open about his trials and tribulations, about his demons, if you will. But I'm curious, as someone who is so good at promotion and connecting with the audience, what you make of him.
It has been remarkable, Ariel. He was on the fence to being canceled. I mean, he was right on his way to being canceled, and then he won. I mean, the stuff that he pulled in Australia prior to the fight, the stuff that he pulled, I mean, oh my gosh, it would make you so nervous watching it. And then he won. And all of a sudden it changed. All of a sudden those weird things that he was saying started to become interesting things he was saying. And they started to be cool things. And then started to be, hey, don't take the microphone from him like you were planning to do. Give him more microphones. I want to hear more from him. I agree with you. Like he goes from almost being canceled to on the road. He's not there yet, but of being a culture warrior. And it's just one of these things. But Ariel, the reason he can get away with it is because what you just said, he's connecting so well. You know, he wrote a piece. It was very heartfelt and touching, and I trust that you saw it, in response to O'Malley and DDP, and he put it out for the whole world to see. And it was one of those things where all of a sudden this brash and rude, and you start to see the vulnerability, and you start to see where the anger that he releases in the cage came from. And you do start to see a very real person. And I agree with you. It is fascinating to understand that Sean Strickland is only 1 or 2 wins away from being a top 3 star in the entire industry.
It's unbelievable. And I never would have predicted it a year ago, right? Like who could have seen this coming? And now, like I said, he speaks to people. I'm dying to ask you about Ian Garry. Where do you and Ian Garry stand? Because it's been quite the back and forth between you guys, and I guess maybe his whole team and his family.
And I shared with you the first day that I met Sean Strickland, didn't I?
No.
I was at the Rain Training Center. He was 21 years old. He had the same haircut then as he's got now. And he introduces himself. We ended up being partners that day. And he told somewhere along the way, he mentioned his record, which happened to be 17-0. And you can't have 17 fights by the time you're 21. You know, you can't even get a fight sanctioned until you're 18. It was just this thing where I had met a liar. So I ended up sparring with him. I came off the mat and I told Brittany, I said, whether he's 17-0 or not, if he's had 17 fights, he's won them all. Like that guy is special. And I knew this on the very first day. So it is great to kind of see where he's made it. And when you bring up Ian Garry, maybe you know something I don't. You said I've had a back and forth with him. I didn't know that. I didn't know he was firing back. I was covering what was going on, but I didn't know he said anything.
He said it was someone. I saw a quote: objectional journalism.
Oh yes, Stephen Morocco had written that. He said that I had pulled some information out of my ass. He's okay for saying that. He wasn't feeling well. I will tell you this. I'm the one that broke the story that he wasn't going to be competing.
By the way, great job on your part. You talk about me being a journalist. I mean, here you are with the scoops. I mean, come on. Wow.
Thank you. Now I see why you like breaking them. Like, it is kind of fun.
It's a rush.
To be the source, right?
Yeah.
But as part of that piece, which I disclosed up front, I don't know if this is true. I mean, I actually said those words, but I said what it was that I had heard. I knew that Garry was out. That was the premise. What I tried to do was to protect and get in front of anybody saying that he pulled out because of the drama, that he didn't want to face the music. And I tried to get in front of that by talking about how ill he was. And I inserted that his child now has the same symptoms that he had, and the child is in the ER. And then I said in the piece, I'm very uncomfortable talking about somebody's health, particularly as it has to do with a child. But I'm going to include it because I would like if you guys offered Ian a hand up as opposed to try to knock him down, because I sincerely feel he's truly sick. And that was my point, and those were the words that I used. So I did not like it when he said I pulled it out of my ass, like I needed him for entertainment, or like I needed to bring in the child for entertainment. I didn't like that. I thought it was rude, but I'm also not sure that he ever heard the piece. He might have just heard it from somebody else. So as far as me and Ian, man, we're good. I hope he gets better, and I'm glad the child's not sick.
Okay. Do you think like this time next year he could be a top star in the UFC? Does he have what it takes? He seems to connect with people, but right now it seems like the audience is sort of rejecting him. But they're rejecting in a way where they care, right? Don't they care?
Sure.
That's part of the game, right? Either they love or hate you. You just don't want them to be indifferent.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. But I'll tell you this, Ariel, he is a top star in the sport right now. I was in Boston, and the reception that he got, I mean, he and O'Malley, and they stood apart. You had the Irish, and you had some of these things going on, but I'm just telling you, it was remarkable how much they liked him. He went into business for himself the night before. He put on a stunt, a PR stunt, but he did it, not the UFC. And it was just at an Irish bar. He was going to do a mitt session, and he did. Ariel, this was both sides out down the street. It was so packed. The police came in and broke it up. They said, "Hey, we don't know what's going on here, but there's too many people, and this looks a level of aggressiveness," and they stopped it. I mean, when you talk about him being a star, he is. Look. He was the skunk at the garden party. He and Luque's fight didn't happen because of him. That's the truth. He's the one that's rebooked. They've already rebooked him in a feature match coming up on a coveted card in Miami. Luque, who did nothing wrong, is in the unemployment line. That speaks to the stardom that he already has.
That's a good point. I'll ask you just two more, and then I'll let you go because I feel bad about the voice. I don't want to keep you too long. It is the holiday season. MVP.
When I said he committed perjury in front of his own commission, that just seems like something that you would say, well, what was it?
I don't know.
That's a very big claim.
Chael.
Perjury claim. That's a very big claim, Chael. With what evidence do you have? But you kind of just let it go. Like I was kind of getting this sense, like you had your own wounds you wanted to uncover. Then I got a sense like this is secretly your long lost uncle or something like that. I mean, I got a real weird vibe from you there.
Okay, can I break the fourth wall for a minute?
I also think it's Chris Kaiser. I think you're trying to protect him by throwing out a fake name.
Can I break the fourth wall?
So I think like something's going on with you here.
It's 100% Keith. And if I could can I break the fourth wall for a moment?
Yeah, please.
I'm on my best behavior. I am trying to offer an olive branch here. I don't want to push back. Sure. I don't want to pry. I mean, the last 2 months have been a personal hell for me because, a lot of people were comparing it to mom and dad fighting in front of the kids. Didn't like that comparison. A lot of people, in my comments today were like, "Oh, the rematch. Oh, it's the big rematch." And what it said to me was, they're Johnny come latelys, Chael. Oh, what do we got? We have someone coming in?
Oh, Priya, did you want to say hi to Ariel? No, Priya's shy. She's peeking in over here.
Oh, we love Priya. She can come say hello.
You don't have to. You can. Yeah, you can come.
Come on.
Go ahead. I got both of them over here. Now they're thinking about it. If you guys want to join. Please, I got to go back to.
Please, we want to say hello. This could be your big debut on the program.
Great. All right, first off, we got Thero here. Yeah, wear the jacket. He'll want to see the coat. Yeah, hell yeah. Come on,
Look at this guy.
Come on, baby. Oh, look at the little princesses here.
Look at this. Do you know that your dad is an absolute legend? Do you know that your father is a living legend, that people look up to your dad, that try to emulate your dad, copy your dad, have posters of your dad, have t-shirts? You know this man is a superstar, right?
Oh, they're being polite, because I'll tell you, that was very sweet of you to put me over, Ariel. But yeah, no, they don't see it, man. I can tell you, I don't get credit from them. I can put it to you like that.
I love it. And it's Thero? No, I want to ask them a question.
Yes, Thero and Miss Priya.
I just wanted to ask them, what is it like having Chael Sonnen as your dad, and what do you love most about him? What is it like having Chael Sonnen as your father, and what do you love most about him? Why don't you go first, Thero?
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Priya, do you have any compliments you'd like to pay Dad? Well, go ahead for the world to hear.
What makes him so special?
She said because he's famous.
That's right.
Fair enough.
I love it. Amazing. Amazing. That was incredible. So
thank you, partner, for doing that. That was very cool. They'll love that. Their mother loves to see that stuff. So thank you.
Who wouldn't? So can I break the fourth wall? I'm on my best behavior because, Chael, you're one of my favorite people. I said if I was getting married tomorrow, you would be in the wedding. I love you like a brother, a family member. We went off the rails, and people were saying, hey, the rematch. I was like, rematch? We've done this 150 times. We've argued like this. Maybe you're new to the party. So I felt like people were making it into a bigger deal than what it was. And I understand it got a little bit intense, but I didn't like where we were. And I wanted to go back. So now I'm trying to be on my, I'm not trying to push, prod. I'm letting you do your thing. This is your show. I'm just a spectator. That's what I'm doing here. You're not seeing the aggressive Helwani character that we've seen sometimes we know and love. You're seeing choir boy Helwani.
Sure. No, and I appreciate that. Fair enough. Hey, that was interesting. You know, I learned a lot about that. Like when I got done with our argument, I was very confident that you were going to have a tough day with the public because you were so clearly wrong. And I had only made 2 points. I had made 2 points and 2 only. We were talking about the Francis fight with Fury.
Yeah.
And there was only 2 perspectives to come from that. You had the financial side, of which met expectations. It was expected to fail, and it did. You then had the competitive side, which greatly exceeded expectations. It was supposed to be a squash match. It turned out to be awesome. Those were the 2 points that I made. So I really did think that you were going to take some lumps there. My own mother was upset with me. The people, they didn't like that I shouted. They didn't like that I screamed. They didn't like that I resorted to calling you names, Weasel and Rat. And I love a debate, Ariel. I don't watch sports, but I do watch debates. And I mean, it's debate season. Like we just had the Republicans debating. You know, you got that fat slob out of New Jersey. You got the woman that you can buy out of South Carolina. You know, you got these really interesting people. Then you got a governor that graduated Harvard, and you got a very distinguished businessman. It's just one of these interesting things to watch them go at it and not know how to get rid of one another, not know when to go hard or when to be nice, when to use the facts as opposed to when to go personal. I thought I did understand those things. And I really thought that I was on the right side because I made 2 points and they were both true, but I didn't make them in a way that had many people listening to me. I made what I still feel are the right points in a way that rejected people. And it was a learning lesson. I mean, I will tell you that. I didn't like shouting at you anyway. You're one of my best friends. But I did learn that about debating. There is a way that you argue. There's a time that you go after it, and there's a time that you put your piece down a little bit friendlier.
So now is this the point where you're like, I love you too. I would have you in my wedding. You're one of my closest friends. I trust you.
Most definitely.
I felt bad.
Well, perhaps you didn't hear that. I said you were one of my best friends.
Like, it was a throwaway line. It was a throwaway. I wanted you to kind of wax poetic.
No, and I did not like arguing with you. Yeah, no, for sure. But I most definitely did not come back here because I saw some of those comments as well. But I definitely didn't come back here to like relive that.
No.
I know that was a stressful time for both of us. I hope everything is going very well with you.
Yes.
By the way, I would love to spend a minute on this Francis business. If Francis versus Wilder, is that got some legs to it?
Not at the moment because Wilder's fighting this Saturday in Saudi Arabia, and then there's
Deontay.
Yes. Did you not know this?
Really?
He's fighting on this Day of Reckoning card. It's the most stacked boxing card in recent memory. He's fighting Joseph Parker in the co-main event, and Anthony Joshua's fighting Otto Wallin. And now there's a report that if they both win that fight, they're going to fight on March 9th. So it seems like Francis is sort of out of the running for that fight, at least for now.
And when is Usyk versus Fury? That's in February?
February 17th, back in Riyadh.
Okay.
So I don't know what Francis is going to do. Maybe it's PFL.
Well, I thought it was telling, partner. I thought it was telling when Eddie Hearn told you that in regards to Joshua and Francis, he had reached out and didn't hear back.
Yes.
What my mind chose to decide is that Markel and company must already have a bird in the hand, and I thought that was Deontay, but I didn't know he was booked for this weekend. So
not only is
that's
he
interesting.
Not only is he booked for this weekend, he has his next one booked too. He has two booked.
Yeah, no, that it is very interesting. And by the way, when I really think that you give Don Davis an incredibly fair shot. I appreciate that about you. And I really like when Don comes on because I feel that Don does as good a job as anybody that's been a leader in our sport of communicating with us, of not keeping us in the dark. It would seem, though, from the things that I heard, it would seem the most obvious fight is Francis versus Bader. And when I say obvious, I'm talking about with all the things from a who are we standpoint that the PFL stands on, it would seem as though, now that fight is so incredibly unlikely that even Bader isn't talking about it. Right. Nobody's talking about it because we all know that it's not going to happen. And that just appears to be a little bit of a conflict within the messaging. If we're looking to just have fun with Francis, I also think that's an obvious one. For the people under contract, that is clearly Czech Congo. But I thought he was going to box, and I thought he had the Wilder thing. I'm realizing I don't quite have this Francis thing figured out as much as I thought. Do you got any scoop?
No, I don't have any scoop. I think he'll be there on Saturday, and perhaps we'll get some sort of indication as to where he's going. I think he'll go back to Saudi Arabia, and there's an event that's being talked about. I don't know if you heard about this, but they're talking about doing PFL versus Bellator, that super card, on February 24th in Saudi Arabia. Does it actually come to fruition? I don't know. But, March 2nd is the UFC's debut in Saudi Arabia. And so they want to put as many events as possible in this Riyadh season that they have from October to March. And so this one is in Riyadh on December 23rd, coming up in a few days. And then February 17th is in Riyadh, Usyk Fury. And then February 24th might be this PFL Bellator card because now Saudi Arabia is an investor in the PFL. And so I would think Francis might... Really? Yeah, you didn't know that. $100 million they invested earlier this year, back in February. So, but I don't know.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The rumor that we heard is that the Bellator acquisition was going to cost $300 million.
Not true.
American banks were topped out, so PFL was going to get hard money from the Middle East. But then Don told you that it was a non-cash deal. So no, I did not know that $100 million officially came through.
Is that bad for the sport? Is it bad for the sport that the number 2 promotion is now gone? That 2 and 3 are consolidated. That there's one less place for fighters to go and negotiate with and get a deal with.
Well, see, but that's two different conversations. It's two different conversations about what's bad for the sport. Like the sport of football did really well when the NFL came in, or the sport of professional wrestling did better when the territories went away and Vince had it all and could do more programmings with a better production to get in front of more people. So it's a little bit of a tough question. I don't know that I fully agree with it. And I do understand where competition comes and you rise to the top, but most people that step in and do that just overspend anyway and go out of business. I mean, there is a number that's responsible, that is sustainable. And then there's other numbers, which is what most people pay when they're not around anymore.
Okay. Last 2 quick ones. Jake Paul, I saw you were excited yesterday. He's teaming up with USA Boxing. Pretty cool grassroots thing. I was at his fight on Friday. I said on Monday, give me 5 more of those fights. Let him knock out people that we've never heard of, build up the highlight reel, really go down this pro boxing path. Are you in on that? Or because he entered this sort of unusual way, fighting the influencers and then the MMA fighters, you can't put it back that way. You got to continue down the mega event path. What are you feeling?
Mega event path. Okay. Yes. Paul always did a good job of not listening to the people, but he's very sincere in his conviction. He is very sincere about how hard he's willing to work and the risks he's willing to take to be part of and recognized and have something that he could look back on within the community of boxing. But I would really encourage him to just go put on the biggest events. There's very few boxers that actually do it the hard way. And I don't know why him coming in should be the first. He's had fewer fights than those guys that are still running their numbers up to 20 and 25-0. He's had fewer fights. He's already had much harder fights. So I think he should continue to do it his way. You need to listen for sure. You need to know what the crowd wants for sure. But there's different ways to get it to him. I think Paul's going to figure it out. And I love that he's going to help with the amateurs. You know, you get these guys say, oh, I love fighting so much. Well, if you love fighting, it's Olympic year. Go do it. You know, you got all these guys under contract. I'll just use the UFC that think they can't leave and can't do anything else. Now, I got to use the word think because they don't fully understand that contract. But I will share with you, there is a federal law that nobody in no contract can interfere with an athlete pursuing Olympic sport. So anybody could go and box is what I'm sharing. If you truly love it and you really think you're good, who sits the Olympics out? Go prove it. Right. So the fact that Paul is willing to go in, I know he's not trying for it, but he's going to help these others. I think it's a great thing. You look at somebody like Mike Tyson, for example. Mike Tyson has never gone and helped an Olympic team. That surprises me. He's never coached or trained anybody. When they bring him to boxing events, they don't put him in the front row. He's like six back and they throw a camera on him. I don't know why. And that wasn't me being a dick of myself and taking a shot at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is terrified of me. I don't look forward to saying these things. What I'm sharing is there is a way that you leave. You know, Rhonda left our industry, and we're all supposed to act like, oh, she was so wonderful. Why doesn't she ever come back and support it if it was so wonderful? Why didn't she use that voice to help the people that were still there sitting at the table that she got up and walked away from? And I'm just asking these questions. So to watch Paul, who was so brand new, use his power and influence, go out to the Olympic Training Center and help the kids, I thought it was a cool move.
Couldn't agree more with everything you said. And by the way, no truth to the rumor that he saw that I'm going to the Olympics and wanted to follow in my footsteps. I think those were two separate things. Are you a big New Year's resolution guy?
For sure.
What is your New Year's resolution?
Oh, I haven't made one yet. And all I made for this year, the one that I'm living out, it was just to exercise every day. And I'll do 45 minutes on a treadmill. But once that starts, I do different inclines and different speeds, of course. But then it comes, and I use that as a dip bar. And I might even step off the treadmill, keep it running so that the clock, and do some pull-ups, then just go back to it. And by every day, that's 5 days a week. If you miss one in the week, you could make it up on the weekend. And I stuck to it. I felt good about myself now that it's winding down. So yeah, I'll definitely make a resolution. What's yours? Did you make one?
I'm not a big one. I just want to be healthy, and I love that one actually. And I have tried to do some sort of workout 5 days a week. So I agree with you on that. But one of my favorite things about you is when I get the voice notes, when I can clearly tell that you are on the treadmill. You know, I could hear it in the background. Those are fun because I feel like the wheels are spinning in your brain. I really enjoy those, by the way. And I just, you know, I want to make the world a better place. I want to spread love and positivity, and I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy, Chael. I really do. I just want the world to be a better place and happy. And you know, I don't want no issues. I just want to be happy.
So that's a great resolution. Do you have a wish? If you had a wish that you could throw out there, what do you hope for the new year?
For myself or for the world? For the world, it would be peace, especially in the Middle East. I feel very strongly about that region, as you know, and I want to do very big things in the industry of media outside of combat as well, interviewing people. I want to be known, Chael, when it's all said and done, as the greatest interviewer of all time. That is my dream. So I guess a wish and a dream would be the same in some respects. And so I want to be the next Larry King, Chael. Do you think I have it in me?
Yes, I do. And I love that you're not satisfied. I believe you just won your 13th
14, Chael, 14.
Of the year award. Is it number 14?
14, yeah.
I'm thrilled to hear that you're not satisfied. I mean, they've only done it 15 times. You won 14. I'm glad to know you're not satisfied. That's the difference with the greats, man. Good for you. I read a book recently. This isn't like a novel idea, but I hadn't heard it before, right? It's like all ideas. Sometimes you're glad when you heard it. But a guy said the worst person to ever get money advice from is a millionaire. He said, don't ever listen to a millionaire because a millionaire's a quitter. I listened to the guy, kept listening. He said a millionaire was hungry at one point and they did everything right. And once they got the million, they stopped. They became satisfied. If they would have taken those same steps and extended it, they would have been a billionaire. And they said, there's no million. This guy laid out the numbers and he laid out how it worked and different appreciations and different forms. He said, there's nothing you can do to become a millionaire from scratch that doesn't take you to a billion unless you quit. I don't mean to make this about money and be gross, but what I'm sharing is I like to hear that you're still hungry. Right, so many people, right, on the plains of hesitation sat down to rest, and in resting, they died. You either evolve or you become extinct. I'm really happy to hear that for you. If I had an MMA wish, Ariel, since you didn't ask me, I guess I'll have to ask it myself.
No.
I had one, and I've actually kind of lost my train of thought.
Come on.
I did have a bit of an MMA thought that I was going to get to. What is going to happen, in your opinion, with Aspinall? I don't want Aspinall to wait for the winner of Jones and Stipe. By the way, Ariel, I want to make sure that you understand this, because very few do. If John Jones returns, and that includes against Stipe, if John Jones returns, Aspinall is no longer interim champion. Do you understand that? Because what most people think, if let's just say that John and Stipe are going to fight this weekend, Tom would be in the front row with the interim belt. If John beats Stipe, then John and Tom fight, and it's belt versus belt. Interim champion means just that. It's in the interim. It's in the meanwhile. It's while our champion is out. So the moment the bell rings for John's next fight, there is no interim champion. And I'm just reminding people of that, because it's not like there's something that he has to wait for. There is no waiting. They've got to get on with it sooner or later. He's going to be like Colby, where Colby was the interim champion, never lost, woke up one day, no longer the interim champion. And that was more of a dialogue that I wanted you to understand, because there is a misunderstanding of that narrative in our industry. You're welcome.
Well, no, but there is a precedent. You'll recall Robert Whittaker was the interim champion, and George St. Pierre fought Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. And then eventually GSP won the fight and vacated the title because he had colitis, and then Whittaker became the quote-unquote undisputed champion. So there is a precedent where there's a sitting interim champion, and then the other title gets defended and the interim champion doesn't get stripped. But I have very little interest. I love Stipe, but there's no heat on that fight. The fight to make is Aspinall versus Jones. Would you not agree? Like, that is the fight to make. And I think it would be a big mistake to keep Aspinall on the sidelines for a whole year so that fight could play out first. Why? If anything, do Aspinall versus Stipe and let the better man win and then fight Jones. If you're so willing to have, and I don't know if Stipe takes the fight, Stipe fight, that's the fight to make. There's no heat on Stipe versus Jones. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. Oh, no. There's no question. I mean, that has been a colossal mystery. There's something to the story that hasn't been revealed to us, for sure. But no, that wasn't like a big sought after match. Now, I wouldn't like to see Stipe lose an opportunity, only because Stipe did nothing wrong.
Right.
I mean, he showed up, he did what he said that he would do. But this happens all the time, Ariel. There's always a plan in somebody's dream, and it doesn't come through. And I mean, that's happened to a lot of guys a lot of times. And I do hear you on that, like, to move on with it, or put Stipe with Tom, and then that brings you into John. But to wait a year, which would mean that John had fought one time in 4 years and Stipe had fought one time in 3 years. I mean, that's a tough sell. And that's not something they're trying to sell. Like when Stipe and John got announced for Madison Square Garden, the ticket sales and the buzz was so much lower than they hoped that they go, okay, we need another title fight. And that's where the light heavyweights came. So it's not as though this is just a theory. This actually got tested. That isn't some wonderful piece of business that you preserve. There's something else that's keeping the preservation of that. But setting that aside, I would like for Tom to stay busy. And I do think that Tom has the right to be called the active champion, much like people consider me the linear champion. John pulled out of the fight and hurt his chest, according to doctors, due to an injury to his toe that he sustained by fighting me, which is why I would be the linear champion, but Tom is the active champion. And I do think those titles matter.
Yes. Oh, you're saying you'd still be the champion? Like, you still consider yourself?
Well, I am the linear champion now.
Yes,
I am retired. It's one of those things. George St. Pierre, myself, there are certain ways that you go out. But I do think that Tom wanted to stay busy. I think that it's very relevant. And by the way, I like pettiness. I'm all for pettiness. The fact that Tom won't give Surreal an opportunity after Surreal left Tom sitting in the front row. He flies out away from his family. He's in a different country. Tom does the best job of telling any story that the heavyweight division has seen in all of the year. And Surreal just leaves him there to look like a fool. I love that Tom tells Surreal, here's your hat, what's your hurry?
It's great pettiness. By the way, I saw a tremendous story on Instagram, and you may be embarrassed by me telling this. I don't know if you even knew they told this story. It was Austin Vanderford and his wife, Paige Van Zandt, talking about the time that Austin was taking her out on a date for the first time. You know about this story?
Yes.
And
my wife just told me that. Yes, I had to slip him a few bucks.
Yeah, he told you that he was taking her out, this and that, and you were asking who's going to pay, and then he basically revealed to you, I hope I'm getting this right, that he didn't have a lot of cash at the time, and then you guys left, and he went home, and you called him up and said, look in your gym bag, and you gave him $500, just like that. Look at you, Chael. Salt of the earth.
Well, oh, thank you for telling this story. I'm just glad it worked out. Like, she's awesome. And, I wanted to make sure that he didn't get embarrassed. And it did work out. Now they're a happy family. That dude is such a stand-up guy, Ariel. He used to put it on me every single day. And we would leave practice. And we know the same people. You don't tell gym stories. But we knew the same people. And they would ask him. And he would lie. And he would tell them, Chael beats me, but I'm working towards it. Because, these guys were younger. I used to coach them. They looked up to me a little bit. So he had a choice to either, reveal or put me over. He chose to put me over. So if I did something for him someday, great. We're even.
Do you go to the gym now? Do you still go?
Well, I tried to get in there last night. We had a belt ceremony. I'm now a professor. Getting a black belt or Fabiano is very difficult. It took me 20 years. So I tried to go in for those to make sure to congratulate the guys. But I thought people think I was sick. Like ever since COVID has gone, I feel great. I don't think I'm contagious. I don't have a fever, but when you sound like this, people don't want to be near you, so I just stayed home.
Oh, so you go and teach guys?
I don't go and teach, but I go when they get recognized. I do still coach, but just at the high school, just the kids.
Just the kids. What grade?
Well, I'm officially on the staff for the high school team, defending state champions, by the way. But the practices that I go to more often are for my sons, and
that's incredible.
He's in what's called an intermediate, so it's kind of like 8th graders to 4th graders. My son's in the 2nd grade.
And so you're going to these meets.
I meant to say kindergarten
right.
to 8. Go ahead. Sorry. What was that?
You're at these meets, like you're coaching the team.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Hey, Cormier and Askren are 2 of the top coaches in the country, and they end up on opposite sides of the mat.
Do you ever?
Wrestling is just so bad at promoting. Nobody tells these stories. But no, we have Cormier and Askren going at it. Then they go after it for scholarships, and it's very competitive. It's far more competitive than professional fighting because it's every weekend.
Sure.
And, professional fighters are arguing, am I going to get $2 million or $1 million? These kids am I going to have something to eat tonight, or am I going to get a full ride? I'm going to get my education. You've got Askren and Cormier helping to guide that. It's the true great stories. But there's nobody in wrestling with a thought to put a microphone on them. I can tell you that much.
Are you the head coach?
No, I'm an assistant. Kevin Keeney is the head coach.
Okay. Do you want to be the head coach?
Kevin runs all of wrestling in this area. He runs all of the kids, all the middle school, all the high school. He's the right guy.
Wow. I didn't even know you do that.
He's earned it. He has put his time in. That guy has earned it. He's noble. Kevin Keeney, very noble man.
Love it. Well, Chael, we've taken up too much of your time, so we'll let you go. But thank you for this.
I feel like you would want to know perjury in front of your own commission.
What is it? Tell us. Can you tell us the story?
I just feel like you want to know.
What's the story?
And I think it's Chris, by the way. He got fired. That went to, was it Governor Sandoval at the time? The governor got a call at like 1 a.m. They woke him up because Keith had said at a press conference, he didn't care if the UFC had come. Oh, that's what it was. Dana said, I'm scared to keep doing fights here because it was administratively, I think it had a judge's decision. Maybe that was GSP and Johnny Hendricks. So the media asked this Kaiser guy, hey, Dana says he doesn't know if he's going to keep doing business here. Is that a problem for you? And he said, it's not a problem for me, which is what a lot of government guys would do, right? I mean, the door hits Keith squarely in the ass every Friday at 5. Like, he doesn't really know what it's like to get out there and grind it out. And the governor said, what? Got a new commissioner in there, but interesting story.
What? By the way, what's the
never gave him a receipt. Tried to take everything from me. I never gave this guy a receipt. It would not have been equitable. This guy had 4. Oh God. Anyway, good talking to you, partner.
Love you, Chael. You're the man. Thank you.
Of course you do. Of course you do. What is it to love? Huh? I love you, and I love all of you for tuning in, and I'm sorry we didn't get into it. I will be back next year, and I will give Ariel what we call a receipt. Kaboom.
There he is, Chael P. Sonnen. What a guy. That was tremendous. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.